Hey everybody, today's video is the third video of a 4-part series all about sex. And this video in particular is about the fear of sex as well as what is asexuality. Now if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do that and also turn on those notifications so that when I post a video, you hear about it. But let's jump into today's topic. When I asked a lot of you what questions you had or what issues you wanted me to talk about with regard to sex, a lot of you had questions about the fear of sex. Many of you stating that you felt like you were too old to be a virgin or that you didn't have any interest in sex in general and you wondered if that was a result of your abuse. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about erotophobia, otherwise known as the fear of sex. Now there are many reasons that someone could fear a sexual encounter or fear sex in general, but I'm going to talk about the main 4. And the first is fear of intimacy. And the fear of intimacy could be just because we're afraid that if someone gets too close to us, then they really have the ability to hurt us. Or we may worry that they might not like us when they really get to know us. There could be a lot of reasons that we fear someone getting close to us, but this could definitely make sex extremely scary. And the second reason is abuse or assault in our past. And you can kind of understand this because, again, by letting someone get that close to us, we're making ourselves vulnerable. And if we've had abuse or assault in our past, we can fear that we're setting ourselves up to have it happen again. And the third reason is fearing that we're not gonna be good at sex. And I know for many of you that might sound silly, but just think about it. If we haven't engaged in sex at all, and we think that we're a little older than most people, chances are when we have sex with someone, they've probably already had sex before. And many worry that they're not going to, meet the criteria or be good enough. And that may just be something that's too hard for people to hear. Because again, sex can make a lot of people feel very vulnerable. And if we let someone that close to us, get that intimate with them, we want to please them and we don't want to hear that maybe it wasn't that good or they don't call us again. That can all be very, very scary. And the fourth and final reason for this video, but obviously there can be many, many more reasons. The fourth reason is the worry that the sex itself could hurt. And I heard from many of you that this was something you struggled with. And in my experience with my clients who've told me that this is a constant worry of theirs, they also struggle with an anxiety disorder. And I'm not saying that this is a direct correlation for sure, but in my experience and what you all have told me from our Kenyan community is that we also struggle with anxiety in general. And so of course, if we have generalized anxiety or if we have anxiety in other parts of our life, of course it's going to find its way into this one because we don't know what to expect. If we haven't had sex before, there's so many unknowns and so many things we aren't sure and we're maybe afraid to ask. All of that spinning, we can worry and worry and worry that it's gonna hurt so bad and then we just would rather not have it at all. So if we find ourselves fearing sex, then what do we do? And the truth is the best thing we can do is see a sex therapist. If you remembered at that video with Dr. Doe, probably like a year ago now, but she talked about the difference between a sex therapist and a sexologist. I'll link it in the description if you want to watch that again. But a sex therapist helps with exactly this. They're supposed to be a therapist like me, helping you process through and better understand where the worries or the fears or any of that comes from, while also directing it to our sex life. And so finding a sex therapist in your area can be super, super beneficial. And by talking it through with a sex therapist and figuring out where it comes from and what we're thinking and what we're worried about, we can decide if a relationship or sex is something that we actually want at all, because not everybody does. And that leads me right into our next portion, which is asexuality and what it is. And I don't want to get it wrong because I did a ton of research and reading to ensure that I stated this as correctly as possible. But again, I'm just learning. So if I said anything wrong or something upset you, you can let me know in the comments. I'm happy to learn along with everyone else. But asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to others or low or absent interest in or desire for sexual activity. It can also be used as an umbrella term to cover a variety of asexual sub-identities. Many people who are asexual still engage in sexual behavior for many reasons. Some of them state that it's because they want to please their partner and their partner enjoys sexual activity and they love them, so it's something they want to give to them and do for them. Others do it because they want to have children. But whatever reason, know that every person who's asexual is going to have a different idea of what it means for them. And so if you have questions or if you're assuming something, just stop. and ask that person what it means for them. Give them the opportunity to explain what asexuality means for them. Others are unable to become physically or mentally aroused in any capacity and therefore have no interest in sex at all. It's also important to know that asexual people can be in romantic relationships. Not wanting to engage in sex does not mean that we don't want companionship or we can't love someone else. And lastly, if you have questions, make sure you ask. Obviously, we want to make sure that it's, the relationship warrants that and you know the person well enough, but don't just assume. That's when feelings get hurt and misunderstandings grow. And there is so much misunderstanding and confusion out there about asexuality, and I don't want to be the one to cause any more, so I'm just going to leave it at that. This video has been brought to you by the Kenyans on Patreon. If you would like to support the creation of these mental health videos, click the link in the description and check it out. If there's anything else that I missed, like I said, if I misspoke in any way, you can let me know in the comments because I'm just trying to learn along with you as we work together towards a healthy mind and a healthy body. And remember, there's a whole nother video coming in this series, so make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are turned on, and I will see you then. Bye.